Welcome to the virtual Portland International Raceway for the fourth round of the Renault Clio League. On 10 minutes of racing is green. We are away for heat race number 1 here. 19 cars out on the field, 9 Division 1 drivers, 10 Division 2 drivers. They head up to turn number 1 for the first time in a big gaggle of drivers. No getting used to a smaller field to start with today. They've got to head out, all of them at the same time. Up towards the chicane here on the opening lap, and we've got contact. 3, 4 cars involved in that one. A lot of damage for a number of drivers. Here comes Hurd. He's on the right-hand side. Vukovic is on the left-hand side. They go side by side into the chicane. Hurd backs out, allows Vukovic to have it. It's really hard to go side by side there. That being said, Ian Lane goes up the inside of John Cook and takes 4th position, but they are still side by side on the exit. Side by side between Richard Edgar and Jared Swain behind for the lead in Division 2. Riding on board with Milan Vukovic. He's got Stephen Hurd behind, and that is off the circuit. Marcus Law goes off the circuit in 3rd. He's going to lose a little bit of time. Going for the overtake on the right-hand side is Stephen Hurd for the lead of this race. He can't do it, and it looks like Lane has lost that position to Neil Rocks. Milan Vukovic defends the lead here at Portland ahead of Hurd, Law and Cook. Riley Downey, where did that come from in the background? We were so focused on the Division 1 lead that the Division 2 lead changed without us noticing. We are green and away here for feature race 1 at Portland. It is Vukovic and Hurd off from the front. Lane and Henriquez swapping around positions ever so slightly there. But it looks like they've sorted themselves out as we head up to turn number 1 there once again. 2 by 2 by 2 from about 4th onwards. There's contact behind. The Formula Lava machine is off the track, but he is back on. But we are watching the fight for first. And here goes Stephen Hurd. Once again to the right-hand side. He tried this move in Heat Race 1. It didn't work. Is it going to work here? No. He's had to back out again. And once again, Vukovic holds the lead here. Who is going to get this position? Law thinks it's going to be Vukovic because he sticks to the inside. It is going to be Vukovic. He does stick to the inside and take the lead once again. Hurd to the right-hand side. Is he going to get any sort of boost behind? Is he going to be able to hold it this time? He backs out a lot earlier that time. Marcus Law, caught out by it, is off the circuit. Is going to slow down once more. But is he going to go for the exit this time? It looks like he's trying to get a good run up onto the pit straight. Neil Rocks up the inside of John Cook. Up the inside of Stephen Hurd. There's contact. Rocks goes sideways. He holds it. He's back on track. He's got John Cook around the outside. He's allowed Swain to go. Sorry, he's allowed Henriquez to get past Downey and try to battle with Swain now. And Henriquez is through, but it's 3 abreast into turn 4. These aren't even awful positions. He moves to the right. Downey moves to the left. Henriquez up the inside. And all 3 of them wide. Swain, Downey off the track. Downey leads Division 2. Swain down to 2nd. They've invited Division 2 Championship leader Anthony Hilton back into this race. Anders Hagland has dropped to 4th in class, but is not giving up. Another D2 driver, they're side by side, and he's going to hold it. McBuller's going to have contact, a little bit of netco for sure, but there was inevitably going to be contact there. McBuller slows down and let Anthony Hilton through. Just running a perfect line, and Milan Vukovic wins feature race 1 just again ahead of Stephen Hurd. John Cook takes 3rd place, and once more it's Riley Downey winning again in Division 2. It's green and we are away here at Portland for feature race 2 and the final race of the day. They all fly past the camera. Vukovic there from the back. It's Nagel from the front. 19 cars, all of them reversed from our feature race 1 results. 3 abreast as they try to sort themselves out and find a nice comfortable position. A big dive ahead of them. There's contact, and that is Anthony Hilton, championship leader, involved in that one. Clayton McBuller is trying his best to get involved in another dive up the inside. It's Wiley Downey, either division so far, and that includes Vukovic, but no, there's contact. Downey goes sideways, drivers scatter so much, almost going into the pit lane. 4, 5, 6 cars side by side. What are they doing here at Portland? It's an inverted grid. It's not a circus. As they go up towards turn number 1, they just want all the positions. Fight still going on ahead, 2 by 2, but it's 3 by 3 by 3. How are they doing this? Contact ahead, drivers off. They're settling themselves down as they try to get through. But one of the benefiters somehow is Riley Downey. Hilton still side by side with drivers. This time it was Ian Lane. He runs off on the exit of 7 into 8. Through 9, he's wide again. So is Joel Swaim ahead. And it's 3 wide once more. But it's Bradbury and Ian Lane of the D1 category who have got the inside to Hilton. Hilton moves down behind Bradbury. Ian Lane getting pushed by Cook here. But is it going to be enough? And it is, because Hilton moves to the right to defend. Up ahead though, this is Henriquez looking to get past Jared Swaim. He does it, but did he cut that corner there? Go a little bit further back and see what's happened for Ian Lane, the league moderator here, the league admin. Oh, a little bit of a wobble just ahead of him from Joel Swaim, and he gets in contact. Downey does not even try to defend that inside. He allows Neil to get that inside line. They're side by side here, up towards turn number 1. Downey's got quite a nice bit of speed on the outside, but because it runs straight into turn 2, it's such a long right-hander combo that there's no way you could have held it around the outside on Matt Neal. What has happened into turn 6, 7, 8, 9 complex? There's only a chicane in one corner, but he's gone wide at turn 7. He's off in turn 8. Will he avoid the wall of turn 9? He does. Just. McBuller almost throwing away the win here. But through goes Riley Downey for 3rd in class. But here comes Neil Rocks. A lockup, a contact and a spin. And around they go. Huge contact for a lot of the D2 drivers. And Anthony Hilton, D2 championship leader, takes 3rd in cars ahead of Peter McIntyre. But it is Clayton McBuller who wins here in D1. Jürgen Nagel who wins D2.
アイレーシングは世界で一番いいレーシングシミュレーターです。ぜひ日本で
Welcome to the virtual Tsukuba Circuit located in Shomatsuma, Japan for the 5th round of the Renault Clio League. After a week off, the competitors are raring to go for the collection of races ahead of them today. If you've enjoyed that brief highlight video from Portland, then head across to our website or our Beehive Build Broadcasting YouTube channel to catch up on all of the extended highlights that are available to watch there. And don't miss out on passionate and professional broadcasts at a competitive race for your league, as the Beehive Build website is now available. Book our services. Sit back and relax as we bring your league to the big screen from as low as £25 an hour. Live timing is available this week over on our website, so do check out www.beehivebillbroadcasting.com/live-timing to check it out. Race-long battles 2 weeks ago at Portland shook up both standings as we head into the race today at Tsukuba. It's hot, it's humid, and there is a small chance of rain throughout the day. It is already raining here in the practice session, so we can expect more as the sessions go on. After our first week off, let's have a recap of the upcoming season calendar as we close to the halfway stage of the championship. Next week, we head down under and across to Winton for the 6th round of the championship. Our second week off comes up at the start of September before we head to Europe for the back end of our season. The Temple of Speed, Monza, followed by the fastest circuit in the UK, Thruxton, and the world-famous Nürburgring circuit at the end of the month. Then we head into October. We get our final week off before heading over to the Scottish Highlands and the Knockhill circuit back to back. We then head back across to Germany for the final round of the season at Oschersleben. The Renault Clio League hosts 4 races every week with its unique and exciting format of racing. Following a brief qualifying session, our drivers will be split in 2 and visit the track in 2 10-minute heat races. They all join back together for the first feature race of the day. 15 minutes and full points on offer. Finally, the drivers head onto track for the last feature race of the day. 20 minutes and a random invert grid. At least 15 drivers are going to be reversed for that race, and we could see the whole field reversed. Not as many points on offer for finishing position in that race, but a whole load of bonus points. Talking of points, how do our championship standings look after our first break of the season? 2 different classes out on track each race, so let's start with Division 1. With many drivers stepping out of the driving seat last week at Portland, our championship leader Milan Vukovic takes a demanding 79-point championship lead. Stephen Hurd holds on to second place in the championship, with Neil Watts finding his way up to 3rd. John Cook found a good amount of points 2 weeks ago and jumps from 8th to 5th in the D1 standings. Matt Malone and Bob Poplar were 2 of our biggest losers in the standings after missing the event 2 weeks ago. Looking across at the Division 2 championship, and the fight for the first is a lot tighter. Anthony Hilton just holds on to the lead of Division 2 after a dominant set of races by Riley Downey jumps him just 4 points behind. A further 3 points back is Jared Swain. So a number of changes towards the back end of the top 10 shuffles up the championship order in the D2 class, and it is one that is going to be exciting to witness. The Tsukuba Circuit in Japan was built in 1970 and is known for hosting a variety of different events, such as sports cars, open wheel and motorcycle races. Most notably though, due to its close location to Tokyo, Tsukuba is a haven for time trial events. The Tsukuba Circuit is well known in iRacing as default content that hosts rookie races for all iRacing newcomers, alongside bigger events such as the recent PCC and PEC events. Today is going to host some fantastic racing, with a tight 10 turns and some long straights for battling. So sit back and get comfortable. Get out your popcorn and get ready for a couple of hours of side-by-side racing. This is the 5th round of the Renault Clio League Season 2. And I hope you are having an absolutely fantastic week, and you've had a couple of weeks off since we were last here for a Renault Clio event. Of course, Portland being 2 weeks ago now, these drivers have had a little bit of time to recover and to get used to these cars again. Of course, Portland, we only had 1 heat race, slightly less drivers out on the field, but it created some absolutely amazing battling. It's practice right now, and it is no longer raining. The rain has stopped. The track still wet, however. So this was something that I'd written down originally in my introduction notes, was the fact that there was only 40% chance of rain this morning, and by the afternoon, as the races progress, so from about the feature races, it's only a 10% chance of rain. So, ooh, as the car goes off there straight away at the hairpin. So what I was going to say is that we could see some rain. It'll be a bit spotty. We could see some changeable conditions. The fact that it's rained at the beginning of this session, it's now stopped, means the circuit is going to be getting drier. We've got about 10 more minutes of practice left before they head out for their 2 laps of qualifying. And their drivers are going to be wanting to go out there and try and put in as many laps as they can to try possibly to dry up that circuit, especially if it's not going to race again. I'm not too sure what the weather is going to be like in the future, but you can see there what it is at the moment, as it's about 7:15 in the morning here around the Tsukuba Circuit in our virtual world. 96% is how humid it is, sorry. So the humidity is really, really thick. We knew it was hot. We knew it was going to be humid. It's about 25 degrees Celsius out on track at the moment. So, and in the air as well. So there's not much difference between the air and the temperature. As you can see, there you go. It's been raining. It's come on and it's come off in the last 13 minutes of this session. We had quite a bit of rain a little while ago towards the start of the session. And as we were going through the introduction there, you saw that it just started to spit again. So the weather conditions are going to be interesting to have a look at as the sessions progress and the events continue. That being said then, shall we have a little look at how the session stands at the moment with about 10 minutes left on the clock? It is Mark Codd up there once again in practice to put in his lap times, and he is sitting at 106.745. Anthony Hilton, who is leading the D2 category at the moment in the championship, sits in first of the D2 drivers as well. Looking at it, it's again another even mix between D1 and D2 drivers. At the moment, we've got 12 of each. And it looks like we haven't got anyone new this week. So all names that we have seen before in this league. Not particularly in season number 2, though. Jeffrey Schnackel there in 16th overall. I don't believe that he has competed so far this season. In fact, we will double check that with our standings. Schnackel being in D2, sorry. Let's get the D2 standings up there. Yeah, no Schnackel at the moment. So Schnackel is new into this season, but not into the league itself. So that is someone that we will want to keep an eye on as he heads out. That being said, let's go and have a look, see if he is out on track right now, and see if we can have a little look across for him. And here he is. This is Jeffrey Schnackel. He's the 23 machine. Lovely livery there. I do like the chrome on the writing there. Fantastic. Got a couple of new cameras to play with today, so we're going to ride on board here. This is the moto layout. As you can see, an additional chicane here from what normally would be turn 6 in towards turn 8. We do have that chicane of turn 7. So it just slows them down a little bit. It elongates the straight up towards the hairpin of turn 9 as well. So we're riding on board with Schnackel, Division 2 driver. He sits in 8th in class right now. Be wanting to get himself up the order, see what he can do here. As always, let's get ourselves showing with the individual divisions so we can see how each of the individual classes go. Mark Codd, the fastest of the D1s at the moment, ahead of Ian Lane, looking really quick. And actually, is that because we have seen dry tyres? No, they are still on wet tyres. The circuit is drier, however, but you can see drivers starting and put in lap times now that their sessions have, well, now that the the track is starting to dry up a little bit, they're able to get in some faster lap times. You can't really see much spray anymore as we have a look at Schneckl here. Yeah, not a lot of spray at the moment as we have a look. This is Mark Codd coming out of the pit lane as NASCAR sucks, apparently. He's got some interesting writing on his... I want to see what else is on this livery as he comes around here. Hillary for president. We've got Mark rules... I think that was Mark Codd rules okay on the front. Is that what it says? No. Man love rules. Okay, I like it. Excellent. What was it on the other side? I think I missed it on the last side of here. We've got country and western is rubbish. Some strong opinions from Mark Codd on his car here as he heads around at the front of the D1 and overall field as well. We'll head back to showing all of the classes right now because I think that's always nice to see. We'll see who else is out. We've got Zach Gould out there at the moment. Gould finds himself up towards the front in the Feature 2 races with the reverse grid. Will he find himself up there again today? And if so, is he going to be able to take any advantage of that this week? Some drivers returning, of course, this week as the rain starts to fall once more in practice. It doesn't look like they're going to be able to dry up the track ready for qualifying. Yeah, some drivers return this week, obviously, after not being here a couple of weeks ago at Portland. We were having a bit of a shift around in the championship standings. Now, of course, we are going to have drop weeks, so we will have drop events, and we've just got to wait for those points to really be taken off the table. Because, for example, our championship leader has a lot of points on the table. That being said, that we should note here, he is not here at the moment, and I don't know if he's going to turn up today. Just 4 minutes left in the session. We may not have Vukovic out on track today. Bearing in mind, he has won every heat race he has competed in, and he's won every feature race won so far this season. If he's not here, who's going to take full advantage of that? Of course, there's a big points drop to the drivers behind, so not having Milan Vukovic here is going to be incredible for the championship. But of course, it does mean that Vukovic can use this week as drop races. He can drop a heat, he can drop a feature race 1, he can drop a feature race 2. So it's going to be interesting how the championship plays out when the drop races come in at the end of the season, because we aren't looking at it with those drop races right now. So keeping an eye on that, because it is going to keep that championship fight tight, even though it doesn't look like it right now. Rain still pouring down out here around Tsukuba with 3 minutes on the clock. Those lap times aren't going to get any faster than they are now, because it is obviously getting worse out there than it was, as the air temperature is slightly dropping down as well. It was 25 degrees Celsius. It's now 24 degrees Celsius. If you want to keep up to date with all the live timings, checking out what lap drivers are on, what their gap is to the drivers ahead in their class and overall, as well as checking out their lap times, you can head over to beehivebuildbroadcasting.com/live-timing, and you can check out the Renault Clio League's live timing page, which will give you all of the live timings from the session today. So go and check that out. And be sure, whilst you're over there, you can check out all of the previous races and the extended race highlights on the Renault Clio League page. Mark Codd is not actually, even when they went into those dry conditions and they were getting, well, those slightly wet conditions and they were getting in some good lap times, Anthony Hilton has not fallen too far back off of Mark Codd, less than a tenth of a second there. Some bigger names towards the back of the field that we are interested in. Matt Gwilym, he's in 16th overall. It's going to be 9th in class. Stephen Hurd. He's second in the championship. He's down in 13th overall, 6th in class. But it is only practice, and drivers have been able to get out there in better conditions than other drivers. It has gone from slightly wet to moderately wet out there, so the conditions are getting worse as we head up towards qualifying. But what it does mean is we're going to be very even on lap times. Well, I would say on conditions, sorry. So all drivers will be running around on the same conditions, which will be important, of course, for making sure that it was all fair for everyone. Only a minute left to go on practice, and with that, I like to do what we always do at the end of these practice sessions, and we are going to have a little look at how the order lines up, because what this does is it gives us a great opportunity to see who's looking like they might be out towards the top. Anthony Hilton is going to want to do that, being the leader of the Division 2 category. Of course, he fell a fair bit a couple of weeks ago, and Riley Downey really caught up with some great races at Portland. Hilton just caught up in a few issues, unfortunately. Ian Lane is looking quick here today as well. Not one to scoff at in the championship. He is second in the D1 class, but the D2 drivers, as you can see here, are actually the majority inside the top 10. Eric Martin, Richard Edgar, Zach Gould, 4th, 5th and 6th overall. Philip van der Hoek is in a 3rd in his D1 class, followed by Swaim and Riley Downey, who are 5th and 6th in the... who are 5th and 6th in the D2 class. And Jukovic, only, who has turned up, by the way, is only in 4th in class. So that's actually important to note. Milan Vukovic, who has turned up, is only 4th in class, 10th overall. Now, the conditions, he turned up late. He turned up when the weather conditions were poor. So now that they are all going to be on equal padding, you can see, look how wet that is up towards turn 1 from the line. It just, from the line onwards, you just see it. It's crazy. We are going to ride on board with Anthony Hilton, I think I've decided. We are going to ride on board with Anthony Hilton on the first lap of this session. 6 minutes on the clock, of course. 2 laps for each of these drivers. Everyone, understandably so, coming out on wet compound tyres. It is moderately wet out there. It is moderate rain as well. It's not light. It is coming down. This is only the 40% chance as well. So it isn't a necessary thing that it will continue as the sessions go on. But right now, the rain coming down. Our driver's going to want to get out early to get lap times in before it gets even wetter, or are they going to hang back? Most drivers out on track right now, but there are still a few in pit lane. We're going to give one of our new camera angles a go as we ride on board here. Let's get our information up as well for Anthony Hilton as he comes through the final turn. You can just see how wet it is out there. My word, it is like a swimming pool as we ride on board with the D2 Championship leader Anthony Hilton up towards turn number 1, trying to find where to go on this circuit. Keep it tight, push it wide, don't want to touch the curbing though. That's one thing you don't want to do in the wet. Keeping it off the curbing again. Over to the right-hand side. This is going to be a tough corner in these conditions. Can Hilton keep it tight? He does. Getting some good practice in the wet during that practice time. Up towards turn number 5 now. Then the moto layout. Not commonly used, but it's the chicane that is added here. Don't cut the corner. It's easy to do so. Extend this straight up towards the hairpin. The rain has stopped. That is important to note. The rain has stopped. Everyone is out on track, though. So those coming out later could get better conditions on their second flying lap. Anthony Hilton exits turn 9 of the hairpin at the top of the circuit and up now in towards turn number 10. The final turn and one of the hardest on the circuit in my own personal opinion. Very easy to get the braking point wrong. Very easy to push it out way too wide. Keeping it nicely on the circuit, though, for Hilton, and we are going to see our timing tower in a moment to see how that stands. Harry Fox goes fastest of them all at the moment. Anthony Hilton in second. Bob Poplet goes into fourth. Jeffrey Schneckel, new name, goes into eighth. Now it's Philip van der Hoek up at the top of the field right now. He is the man that is leading the way after the first laps of qualifying at the moment. That being said, no lap time on the board yet for Vukovic, D1 championship leader by almost 100 points. Can he get it to 100 points? He's going to come to finish his first time lap. Is going to be the beat the 12.6. Vukovic's time goes into second, not first. If he does not qualify on pole here, I believe that's the first time this season. Vukovic is the fastest driver out there, but he's not showing it right now. Van der Hoek being that driver. That being said, is Van der Hoek new this week as well? I don't remember his name too much in previous weeks. Actually, I think I do. I think I do remember his names. He's not been up there at the front like he is today, though. These wet conditions really playing to his advantage. Pushing over the wet patches, pushing him slightly wide, as Hurd on his second lap goes faster than Vukovic. Van der Hoek just finds an astonishing half a second there to go 1:12.1. What can Vukovic do here as Edgar jumps into fourth in the class? Bob Poplet in the middle of those D2 drivers. Drivers at the back though, McBuller, Cridland, Malone not doing great in their respective D1 field behind all of those in the D2. Vukovic crosses the line. Is it going to be a beat? A 12.5. It is. It's a 12.4. But Van der Hoek goes faster. And looks like going to take pole position here. I don't think we're seeing too many faster laps. This is Andrew Jordan. He is out at the moment. He has only put in one lap time on the board right now, and it's good enough for 9th in class, 15th overall. Matt Gwilym is also out on his second lap now. What can Andrew Jordan do here? He's through turn number 7, up towards the hairpin of turn 8 and turn 8 is that kink to the left. Here's turn 9 of the hairpin. Keeps it tight, pushes it wider. Of course, these front-wheel machines, they want to pull out anyway. You touch a bit of water and they want to throw you completely off the circuit. But they are keeping it nice and smooth, all drivers. It's still moderately wet, but you can see a racing line form. So is this later lap going to come to advantage? Rain starting to fall again here, but it's not been falling for a little while. Is that going to help Andrew Jordan with his lap? Is it going to be a 1:14? It is. It's a 1:13, and he jumps up into 7th overall and out of the D2 minefield that was back there. That is qualifying over with. And we are now going to have a look at how our grid looks going into this first race of the day. First heat race. We are looking at the odd numbers, the left-hand side for this grid. So we have Van der Hoek, who will be starting on pole position ahead of Stephen Hurd. For the first time, Vukovic is going to be leading the Heat 2 field. Mark Codd will start in 3rd in this race. Following him will be Andrew Jordan. We'll then see Jared Swaim, Zach Gould, Bob Poplet, Jeffrey Schneckel, Matt Gwilym, Eric Martin, Paul Braunstein, Peter McIntyre, and at the very back of the field, surprisingly, we will see Matt Malone, D1 driver, starting at the very back. Of course, we did see that 2 weeks ago because we saw, as we'll get all of this hidden away, as we saw, of course, McBuller jump from the back to the front. We are getting ready, though. There was a jump start for a driver there, and it is Jeffrey Schneckel who has jumped the start, and it is a driver who not got off the lane at the very back. I'm trying to figure out who that was. It was Paul Braunstein who did not get away off the line here. So a jump start for Schnackel and no start for Braunstein. He's on the way now out the back. Good launch for Van der Hoek though. He has pulled it away. Out in the lead, he's held that. Stephen Hurd, Mark Codd, side by side here in second and third position. Is there going to be contact as they go into the moto section? Add this chicane? No. They keep it really close together, but they keep it perfectly in line with each other. No contact, they're running through. Wet conditions, of course, nobody risking dry tyres this week like they did a few weeks ago back at Daytona. Of course, that's when it was raining, but the rain stopped in the start of Heat 1 and the conditions just looked dry enough for those dry conditions, but it wasn't. That was Zach Gould off the circuit at the back. The 138 has gone around, and he is going to have to move up as Jeffrey Schnackel dives down pit lane. It promotes Matt Malone up to 9th, who has moved from 13th to 9th in this opening lap of the race after that extremely poor qualifying session. As we look, it is side by side for the lead there. It was Hurd on the right-hand side of Van der Hoek. They head up towards the hairpin of turn 4. Keep it in line. It's a little bit wider from Van der Hoek. Mark Codd and Stephen Hurd keeping it tight. Hurd in the middle of this train of cars here. Head up towards the moto section right now. We're going to ride on board with another new camera of ours out the boots of Van der Hoek back towards Stephen Hurd. Let's get our timing tower up because that is not been showing. We can see the order that the field is in right now. You can just see as they go through that hairpin the different positions they are. The rain still forming here in our virtual Shimitsuma in Japan. A disappearance quickly from Hurd. Hopefully won't have too much of a connection issue as we head up towards the final hairpin of turn 10. Again, different racing lines, slightly wider from Van der Hoek than it was from Hurd, but they keep on through now. Hurd could be under attack from Mark Codd at this rate. It is gained to about half a second between Van der Hoek and between Hurd. Let's get our intervals showing so we can see those instead here. There we go. So we can see the intervals between each of the drivers. You can see a couple of, there's just a couple of groups around in the background, but not for overall, not for class positions. They are for overall positions. This is a battle for overall and class here. Bob Poplet moves past the D1 leader, or sorry, the D2 leader of Jared Swain. They're fighting it out here back in 5th and 6th position. I think that may have been an issue there because Bob Poplar is down to 10th, so he has gone off as we've just got to him recovering there. Bob Poplar's gone off of the circuit. Let's see if we can find out what's happened here. Oh, there he is, already off. Let's jump back. There's contact. No, it's contact and a spin from Jared Swain, and Poplar's going to have to recover from that one. That is a real shame for him. As we jump back up towards the front fight here, again about half a second between the leading two, 3/10 of a second between Hurd and Codd. Andrew Jordan not too far behind here. Matt Malone has made his way up to 7th overall, and he's going to look for 6th overall here. Up the inside of Eric Martin. Migon's really deep here in the wet. He's off the circuit. He's got to get it back on. He's lost the position to Matt Gwilym now. He's down to 8th. It is 6th in class. He was up to 5th in class, but he is only just off the back of Gwilym and Martin. A little bit of a slide again, though, as he goes through the hairpin. Let's go have a little look at this fight. It is the fight for the lead in the D2 category. It's Jared Swain leading Eric Martin. Swain, of course, in with a championship fight in the D2 field. Only 7 points off of Anthony Hilton. Only 3 points off of Riley Downey. Neither of those in the Heat 1 race. They will both be in Heat 2. So Jared Swain taking full advantage of that and is looking to win here in the Heat 1 race in the D2 class. Rain falling again here at Tsukuba as they come up towards the line. It's about 3/10 of a second up at the front again as off the circuit goes Matt Gwilym there. out of the final turn. I said it's probably one of the trickier corners on the whole circuit. It's just so easy to pull yourself wide on the exit, and that has happened as we ride on board with Matt Gwilym. You can see that lead around the corner. That's Matt Malone ahead of him. They're fighting for 5th in class. Ahead of them is the fight for the the D2 field. Off track ever so slightly goes Eric Martin. Matt Malone trying to find his way past. He's going to want to put a D2 driver between himself and Gwilym here as they go on the exit of turn number 7 through the kink of 8. Malone's on the outside. There's a lot of water around that curbing of 8, but it is going to be the long way round. Is it going to work out? It doesn't look like it is. Or is it? Because it looks like he's got a fantastic exit. Matt Malone found speed on the exit there, taking a wider line, moves up into 6th overall, splits the leading D2 fight, and puts a car between himself and Matt Gwilym. Can Matt Malone get past Jared Swaim? If he can, it is a 5-second gap up to Andrew Jordan. Probably a bit too big to close that in within the next 4 minutes of the race. Philip van der Hoek put in a fastest lap last time around and has increased his lead to about 0.6 of a second. There is a fight going on towards the back of this field. This is Paul Braunstein in 11th, Zach Gould in 12th. They're fighting for 4th and 5th in class. So even though it's right towards the back, there is still a class fight going here. Braunstein, of course, did not get off the line, remember. He's gone a little bit wrong through the hairpin, though. Up the inside goes Zach Gould, and Gould makes that move through. A lovely move up the inside for him, and he goes into 4th in the D2 field. Fight going on up ahead once more. Matt Malone having to defend here from Eric Martin. That is Matt Gwilym on the right-hand side following Matt Malone. So the two Matts on the right-hand side up towards the final turn. It looks like Matt Gwilym is going to go for the inside line on Martin. Malone's very wide there. Could become too wide. He cuts it in just in time. No contact. Keeps it clean. Up towards the line now. Jared Swaim has pulled a little bit of a gap ahead of this fighting train of drivers now as we ride on board Matt Gwilym. This driver in front of him, Eric Martin, D2 driver. So even if he makes this move, it will not be for any additional points because the points go per class. Malone running a slightly wider line there. He's done that on a few corners, and you can see on the exit, the wider line is the way to get the better exit. Can Matt Gwilym see that ahead of him and decide to go for a wider line, possibly up towards the hairpin? That being said, Matt Malone is really close on the back of Jared Swaim now. Can Malone, once again, he goes for the outside line. It's the longer way around, but he can just get the speed on the exit. Look at the speed he's got. He's going to close up towards the back of Jared Swaim. It's not quite enough to make that move up the inside, unfortunately. He's going to look again. Wider line here. Matt Malone's going to try and not push it off the circuit, but he is carrying a lot of speed once again on that wider line. 7 tenths of a gap, tenths of a second, sorry. The gap now between Van der Hoek and Hurd. Again, two very different racing lines going on, but what that has done is open the door up on the inside. But again, the speed that Malone finds on the exit is just allowing that outside line to be the beneficial line, and it looks like Swaim's trying it out. It hasn't worked though. Matt Malone's gone for the inside. Swaim has got the speed on the exit. He holds that inside line up towards the chicane, and Malone just can't quite make the way through. Still got Martin behind. Gould now has got 3 tenths to McIntyre. 3 tenths behind him is Braunstein. So there's a bit of a fight going out for the podium of D2 behind. Let's go and have a little look at this, because this is for positions and for points. It's McIntyre leading, Gould leading Braunstein. Jeffrey Schnackel is only 1.1 seconds further back. Bear in mind, he's already been down pit lane for that black flag jump start. That's not too bad. A massive look to the inside. So much speed on the inside line from Zach Gould, but it's not quite going to be enough, as it's going to be a move on the outside for Matt Malone once more, as it looks like that was a disconnect, very possibly. Nope, there he is. It has been a reappearance there for Jared Swain. Matt Malone on his rears. At contact, they are sliding around. But they have both held it. Matt Malone now up the inside. There's another bit of contact. Malone takes 5th overall. Swain is off the circuit. He's having some connection issues, and that has allowed Eric Martin to take the lead of the D2 field. Matt Malone looks to the inside. Martin's on the outside. We know that outside line can do a good job. But here comes Philip van der Hoek around the final turn to win the Heat Race 1 in Division 1. It's Stephen Hurd in 3rd and Mark Todd in 4th. How's this fight going to end behind Eric Martin? It's going to win D2. What just happened? How did Matt Malone survive when he was sideways? What has happened there? Let's have a replay of that last lap contact with Matt Gwilym through the final turn for Matt Malone. Oh no, we can't. I want to go and see that replay before the grid of race number 2. We're not going to be able to see it, unfortunately. It looks like we are not going to be able to see that, unfortunately. That is a real shame. But we are gridding up for Heat Race number 1. Let's talk through the results for Heat Race 2. Sorry, let's talk through the results of Heat Race number 1 very quickly. Jukovic. Sorry, no, this is the starting grid for Heat Race number 2. I do apologise. Let's get Heat Race 1 results very quickly up. It is Philip van der Hoek ahead of Stephen Hurd, ahead of Mark Codd, Andrew Jordan in 4th, followed by Eric Martin, Matt Malone, Matt Gwilym, Jared Swain, Bob Poplar, Peter McIntyre. Then at the back of the field was Braunstein, Gould and Schneckel. As we are preparing our way here for Heat Race number 2. They are lined up and they are preparing and they are off at the start of this one. It is Vukovic pulling away out front. Henriquez trying to hold on to 2nd behind as they come through turn number 1. Ian Lane holding on to 4th there. We've got Anders Hagland pulling into 5th. But Vukovic has had a very good launch side to side towards the back of this field as they come through the hairpin. That's Anthony Hilton. He's the D2 championship leader. He is getting shuffled though at the moment down the order. And there's contact! Riley Downey and Anthony Hilton, championship rivals, fighting it out in the D2-1 cars. Have had contact. More contact in the back. There's Riley Downey appearing on track. He's surely going to have to slow down out of that one. As Joel Swain goes a little bit deep into the hairpin, Anthony Hilton has to hold around. But up front, it looks like they have pulled themselves nice and easily as they settled themselves down now behind as well. Let's get ourselves our timing tower to see how it stands after the first lap of Heat Race number 2 here. Vukovic is leading the way ahead of Henriquez and Fox. Anders Hagland finds himself leading the D2 field. He's got Ian Lane between himself and the rest of the D2 field, so he could take advantage of that. Clayton McBuller once again finding himself to the back of the race here when he's not racing those around him. However, he does have Matty Gridland back there with him today. Not great qualifying in the wet, of course. It is still raining. We are expecting it to get drier as the races go on and we head in towards the feature races. But how much drier? Will we still see rain? Will the circuit dry enough to see dry compounder tyres be beneficial for our drivers? Off the circuit in front of Hagland was Harry Fox. He's 3rd overall and 3rd in the D1 field. Ian Lane going slightly deep there to try and get up the inside. Hagland can't do it. For Lane to gain any more points here, he's going to have to pass Hagland before he can then start overtaking for points. He is going to want to dispatch the D2 race leader, that's for sure. We are looking at the D2 race leader of Anders Hagland. Not had the easiest of starts to the season, but this is a great way for it to continue. Vukovic fastest out on track at the moment as Hagland runs a nice line. Lane trying an alternate line back there in 5th. Maybe trying to scare Hagland into some sort of mistake, but it just doesn't play out. That being said, Let's ride on board our lovely boot cam towards Ian Lane. A picture of Matt Malone out on the front of his bonnet. A lovely view indeed as we head up towards the moto chicane. Keep it nice and tight to the right. Turn it across the left. Try not to get an off track. Try not to touch the grass in the wet. Slight grass touching there from Hagland. He moves across the left-hand side as he goes through the kink of 8. Into turn 9, he will have up the inside of Ian Lane, but we saw in heat race number 1 that outside line, it just works so much smoother than the inside line. The speed you can get on the exit is phenomenal. Up towards the braking zone of the final turn then. These drivers have settled themselves down a lot more than they did in heat race number 1. We're coming up to the halfway stage already, and there's not been too much happening. We've had a bit of contact here and there. Vukovic finding even more time, an 11.3 right now. Fastest outside of him is Harry Fox with an 11.7. He's going to want to try and catch up to Luis Henriquez, who sits in second, and try to get in second position in heat race 2 here. There's about 7/10 of a second between them, well, floating between 7/10 and 9/10 depending on where we are on the circuit. But Riley Downey is a driver that we are going to look at here, because Downey had a fantastic set of races in Portland, somehow coming to win the heat race for Division 2 and the feature race 1 in Division 2 out of absolutely nowhere both times. Well, I say nowhere as he's going to dive up the inside of the number 6. There's a slight bit of contact with Joel Swain. He sticks it behind, and Riley Downey's just going to have to hold on to 9th place right now. That is 5th in class. He's going to want more than that. His championship contender, Anthony Hilton, is in second. And of course, Jared Swain, who is 3rd in the championship, got 2nd in the D2 class in heat race 1. So Riley Downey sitting down in 5th right now. Not going to work out too well for him. Of course, he's going to want to do better than that. But the heat races aren't where the points are fully on offer. That is feature race 1. That's the race you want to do your best in. This is sorting your grid out for that. And right now, Riley Downey's going to find himself pretty far down the order, but he dives up the inside of Joel Swain again. There is contact this time. A little bit of a nudge on the rear end as Downey is desperately looking for a way up the inside on any of these corners that he possibly can. But it's the two of the hairpins that he's properly going for. In all of your positions, just so you are aware, as that was McBuller looking to try and get the outside of Downey, it doesn't work. The only 2 drivers who have swapped positions so far this race has been Joel Swain and Riley Downey. Downey started this race in 8th overall, Swain started in 9th overall. That has been your only position change from the grid order. This race has been a lot more calm than heat race number 1. They aren't fighting as hard. That being said, all 3 drivers pushing extremely hard, so hard that they all run off the circuit in the last turn. McBuller gets right up the rear end of Downey there, trying to find a way through if he possibly can. We're actually going to ride on board here with Clayton McBuller through the hairpin, and that could be a good exit there. Ahead, no. Downey had some overlap on Spain, but that outside line, once again, just being the better line to run. You can see how much puddles are on the curbing here. The wider line, the reason it's getting them faster is because they're sticking themselves off of the water. They're able to get the traction and therefore the speed. That wider line. Bit too slow for McBuller that time though. He definitely tried the wider line, but it wasn't doing anything for him. Up towards Ian Lane again. He's still trying to get past Anders Hagland. Fox is closed up to Henriquez a little bit more as the rain is falling again. Off the circuit goes Ian Lane. They have got those track limits, of course, to play with, but if you are able to complete these heat races instant free, you do get an additional bonus point. If I'm not mistaken, actually it's 2 bonus points. Look at the gap that Vukovic has found though. He wasn't able to get the time in qualifying, but he's certainly getting it here in heat race 2. But of course he's not got Hurd, he's not got Van der Hoek, to battle here. Swaim is now down down side by side, I think, with Riley Downey. Yes, he is, as Downey has made his way through the hairpin. Swaim now under attack from Clayton McBuller as they head up towards the turn 9 hairpin. McBuller just a lot later on the brakes. Can he go for the speed this time? He's gone for the speed. Is he going to switch to the inside? He does. Looks to the inside. Matty Quidlan behind, looking to the inside as well, but way too far back. Just trying to follow the slipstream of the driver with more speed. And that is up the inside of McBuller, up the inside of Joel Swaim. A little bit of contact. Swaim trying to get as tight as he possibly can. Couldn't get any tighter because McBuller was there. Up towards the hairpin there, and this has invited Matty Quidlan into this fight as he's trying to get involved, but Clayton McBuller does hold ahead of Swaim as we are going to be on the last lap of the race. Next time around, is there going to be a change for second? Harry Fox has closed the gap to Luis Henriquez, but I just don't think it is enough. What could be enough is the fight in P2, and Riley Downey is really going to hope that Richard Edgar could get the overtake done on Anthony Hilton here. Up towards the turn 9 hairpin, getting it tight to the inside. Two different racing lines. Actually, there doesn't seem to be a lot of water left on the inside of the turn 9 hairpin. Could be why we are seeing speed down that way as well, unlike some of the other corners where there is water on the apex, like there. White flag is out as Vukovic takes the final lap of the race, 4 seconds clear of the rest of the field. This is the fight for second in the Division 2 class, and that was a very late braking from Richard Edgar. Tried to get it past Hilton, couldn't quite do it though, and I think that mistake there by going just a little bit deep is going to have dropped him back and out of the fight for the second in the D2 class. Vukovic though, not able to qualify on pole this time round for the first time this season, and he found himself in heat race 2 for the first time in this season. Fortunately for him, it was pole position in this second heat race, and he is able to absolutely dominate in these wet conditions. He has gained 5 seconds on Luis Henriquez behind. He comes through the final corner to win heat race number 2. It will give him second on the grid for feature race 1, but Vukovic wins the Division 1 category as he crosses the line here at Tsukuba. Henriquez takes second ahead of Fox in third, and Anders Hagland, for the first time this season, wins the D2 category. Looks like he was trying to, very hard trying to avoid any incident points. He could have no incident points then, and therefore be wanting to gain those bonus points for that. Let's have a little look at the results of heat race number 2 then. Vukovic won that one ahead of Henriquez, and Fox Hagland got 4th and won the D2 category. Following that was Ian Lane. Anthony Hilton beat Richard Edgar to second in the D2 field, and Riley Downey was down in 4th. Clayton McBuller got 9th overall, followed by Joel Swaim. And then at the back of the field then, in 11th position, if I can get us to show that page. There we go, we've got Matty Quidland in 11th and Michael Wynn at the back of the field. Right then, the grid then for feature race number 2. That is incorrect. Let's get ourselves the grid for feature race number 2. And not heat race number 2. We don't want that one. We want feature race number 2. Sorry, feature race number 1. Philip van der Herk is going to start feature race 1 from first ahead of Milan Vukovic. Stephen Hurd will start in third ahead of Luis Henriquez. Following behind will be Mark Codd and Harry Fox. Back behind them will be Andrew Jordan starting from 7th, and leading the D2 field will be Anders Hagland. Eric Martin will be starting just behind in 9th, followed by Ian Lane. Matt Malone will start feature race 1 from 11th ahead of Anthony Hilton, the Division 2 championship leader. 13th will be Matt Gwilym. Ahead of that will be behind him, will be Richard Edgar. Following that will be Jared Swain and Riley Downey. Bob Poplar and Clayton McBuller find themselves towards the back of the field in the Division 1 category. Then we've got Peter McIntyre and Joel Swain, followed by Paul Braunstein. Matty Quidlan's in 22nd. Then it is Zach Gould and Michael Wynn. At the very back of the field is going to be Jeffrey Schnecker. Drivers getting themselves ready here, as you can see, all on the grid for this race. There we go, get ourselves a nice little camera set up. All on the grid for feature race number 1. We've had 2 10-minute races. This race is 15 minutes long. It is Philip van der Herk, hidden behind the pillar, who is starting from P1 on the field. Is Vukovic, who is starting alongside. So Vukovic is the one hidden behind the pillar here. We will see him appear as the lights go green. We are away. Who can get the better launch? It is looking dry here. And that being said, Herk, Vukovic and Hurd all on dry tyres. They are all on dry tyres. Most of the field still on wet tyres. There is still a little bit of spray. Vukovic drops down and could have tried to go for the lead, couldn't quite do it. Are the dry tyres the correct play here? Most drivers sticking for the wets. Which one's going to play out? It is very lightly wet out on the track, but it looks like, looking at how the leaders are pulled away, the dry compound tyres are going to pull off. Mark Codd, Harry Fox, Eric Martin, all on the dry compounded tyres, and if I can, I'm going to try and get the tyre compound up for you as well, so you can see what compound they're on as we head through the final turn. There you go, the wet tyres and the dry tyres. As drivers sort of fill out, it is Henriquez, he's on the wet tyres, and he has pulled to the lead. Matt Malone on wet tyres has pulled to 4th. Eric Martin falling down the order. It was another black flag for jump start for Jeffrey Schnackel. 2-2 races for him. Vukovic up the inside of van der Herk here. And that is a meatball flag for Eric Martin. But these wet tyres seem to be the play here. Matt Malone is coming through on the outside. Could this be a mistake to go onto the dry contact? And that is van der Herk spinning Vukovic. And Matt Malone just parting the waves like Moses. Moves into second position and is now chasing down Luis Henriquez, as there is a mix of tyres behind in this huge gaggle of drivers heading out to the hairpin. Drivers going straight on. It is 5 wide in the hairpin at Tsukuba, and around a driver goes into the wall. There was Stephen Hurd. D1 top driver is into the wall towards the back of the field, and he will have a meatball flag, and his contention for the race here is over. It will all be down to how many drivers are reversed. Feature 2, contact and a driver into the pit wall. That's the Formula Llama machine. He tucks it up the inside. Can he hold it? It looks like he can, and they all get through. Are they going to finally settle themselves down as the fight on dry tyres is in third? Meatball flag for Zach Gould in the background. This is the fight on dry tyres. Van der Herk leading Vukovic. Is it going to dry up enough by the end of this race that the dry compound tyres are going to be worth it? 3 wide on the exit. Are the wet tyres going to play onto the benefit of D2 leader Jared Swain? He tucks behind Vukovic. Doesn't go for that move. As we go through the final turn, he now goes to the inside. It's just got so much more speed on the wet tyres. Vukovic now needing to defend from Ian Lane behind. also on wet tyres. They are trying to find the dry line out there. There is certainly a dry line forming, but it's not the optimum tyre to be on yet. Will it be the optimum tyre shortly, though, as that's deep from Van der Herk. Up the inside goes Jared Swaim, and here comes Ian Lane to try and take third in class. He's around the outside as we head up to the chicane. They're side by side, and he gets the inside. Ian Lane moves to third in class on the wet compounder tyres. Dry tyres for Gould, Hurd and Martin, who've all been down pit lane. Contacts there as it's still side by side, and here he comes, Riley Downey on the wet compounder tyres is looking to try and get past Van der Hoy. Contact in the background, and that was Richard Edgar around into the wall. As we continue to watch this fight up front, here comes Riley Downey to get up the inside of Van der Herk if he can. Matt Malone's fastest out on track at the moment. Vukovic dives up the inside of Van der Herk. Of course, they are both on the dry compounder tyres, so they are competing with each other here as we head up towards the hairpin. And they keep it so tight. Vukovic keeps it on the outside. We'll have the inside to the right-hander as we head up towards chicane. And Vukovic takes fourth in class, sixth overall right now. Changes behind his drivers sort themselves out with the difference in compound. The wet tyres certainly the faster compound at the moment. But you can see that the spray is almost entirely gone. So at what point are the dry tyres going to take over on the optimum tyre? Because I do believe we'll see it before the end, but are we going to see it with enough time left on the board? Biggest gainer this race, Matt Malone, has moved up 6 positions in class. That's not even overall. That's 6 positions in class that he has moved up the order here, which is absolutely phenomenal. Eric Martin, who won heat race number 1, obviously ran around and is down pit lane and out of this race along with Stephen Hurd. Richard Edgar did need to pit, but he is back out. He's on wet compounder tyres. The dry tyres, most of them falling to the back of the field very early on. There are still a few up there, though. Mark Codd competing his hardest to try and stay in touch. He's in 10th overall. And then, obviously, the battle between Vukovic and Van der Herk. And now you can see just how much Vukovic is able to stick on the back of Riley Downey here. But look at the gap to the leader. Henriquez is already crossing the start-finish line now. Vukovic certainly could find pace here on the dry tyre, and it does look like it's coming in now. But is he going to find what is a gap of 8 seconds to the race leader? I don't think he will find that, even if the dry tyre suddenly becomes the fastest, as it has. A 1:10.2 goes 0.3 faster than a wet tyre fastest lap so far this race. So that means that the dry tyre is now officially faster than the wet tyre. Will the gamble of going onto the alternate choice, going onto the dry compound, pay off for Milan Vukovic here? He started this race in second alongside Philip Van der Herk. Can he find his way back up to a strong position here? He isn't too far off of Lane and Swaim, but then it is 6 seconds up to Matt Malone and Luis Henriquez. That gap is now about a second, and that is maintaining around about a second. So I don't think we'll see a fight for the lead between those two unless Matt Malone goes even faster, which he does. Now less than a second between them, and he has just put in a 1:10.1, which is a 10th faster than Vukovic on the dry tyres. So Matt Malone saying, no, this race is not the time of the dry tyres, sorry. This is the wet weather runners, and Matt Malone is proving that right now. But he is losing a little bit in this first sector to Luis Henriquez, trying to keep it as close as he can in that gap, maybe have a fight towards the very end of this race. This is Mark Codd. He's trying to chase down Casey McBuller, but Codd, of course, on the dry compounded tyres. And in fact, here comes Anthony Hilton, the D2 driver. He is on wet tyres. The left-hand side there, you've got your wet and you've got your greys. So greys are your dry tyres. The wet blue ones obviously being your wet tyres. Up towards the final turn here. It looks like that is a possible side-by-side up in front here, as Hagland has got McBuller up the inside. They go side-by-side, but they sort themselves out. Luis Henriquez has responded to Matt Malone's fastest lap. It's gone a 10.08, but Milan Vukovic has responded to both of them, and it's gone a 19.9. He certainly is closing in, but he's just not closing in enough to fight for the race lead. He could still get a podium though, because it is Ian Lane directly in front of him. This middle part of the circuit, though, you see there's still some spray being kicked up, so it's not fully dry for them at the moment. It's still very lightly wet, but that was a great exit from Vukovic. He goes to the right-hand side. He's got Ian Lane on the left, and Vukovic sides to the inside. A little bit of contact. Just a small touch. Who's going to get the better exit? The driver on the wet tyres, the driver on the dry tyres. It looks like they got a pretty even exit there between the two of them. Vukovic will have the inside line into the final turn, and Vukovic takes third once more in class, as Henriquez goes a 109.8. It's a 109.7 for Vukovic. Through turn number 1, a wider line there from Spain, and it is a 109 flat from Van der Herk, who was not fighting with anyone last lap. And you can see he's closing into Ian Lane behind as well now. So these dry tyres are certainly now coming into play, as Vukovic made a way around the outside of Spain and had a great run. In order for Vukovic to get back into the run for the lead in this race, he's going to need to gain about probably 2 to 3 seconds over the next few laps. I don't think that's going to be possible. You can see up ahead Henriquez swerving all the way to the right hand side, trying to get the damp part of the tracks, cool his tyres down a bit if he can, as we watch continuing Vukovic right now, who is finding some immense time on these wet compounded tyres, as Van der Herk has also made his way past Ian Lane, and now looking up the inside of Jared Spain. Vukovic put a 108.6, which compared to Malone and Henriquez's last lap time is 1.2 seconds quicker, and he had to fight last lap. If he doesn't, well, we'll see this lap, not having to fight, what can Vukovic do? Can he gain up to 2, maybe even 3 seconds on this lap? He's going to need to in order to continue to pull up the order. Hilton and Hagland battling it out down in 10th and 11th position. This is for third in D2 right now, and Hilton holds on to third position behind. That's Gwilym and Fox side by side. Hagland gets the inside of Hilton. There is contact. There's more contact for Hilton. There's more contact. They all settle themselves down, but it's 3 abreast here. But Hagland holds on to third in class, and they look like they're sorting themselves up towards the final turn here. It's side by side behind still. Van der Herk goes fastest last lap. It's a 108 flat for him, a 110 flat for Matt Malone. So the gap is closing. You can see it's only 2 seconds now between Vukovic and Matt Malone. So this is going to be a fight for sure. They have got a back marker between themselves though, but these dry compounded tyres, it was a risk at the start, but here comes Milan Vukovic. He risked The dry tyres. They were not the tyre to be on for the first 10 minutes of this race. They have been the tyre to be on here at the end. Matt Malone moves to the right. Is he driving defensive or is he just going to let Vukovic through? He's driving defensive, but Vukovic on the outside has got speed. But it is a little bit wet there. It's white flag now as we go on to the final lap of the race. Matt Malone battling with Milan Vukovic for second. It's wet tyres versus dry tyres. The dry tyres on the outside have got so much speed. And through goes Milan Vukovic. Can Van der Herk take third position away from Matt Malone here? Can Vukovic capture Henriquez? It's 3 seconds, so I think Luis Henriquez might win this one on the wet tyres. Matt Malone going defensive on Willem van der Herk. If he can keep it up towards the final turn, he should be able to hold on to third because he ran a great defensive line on Vukovic last time around. 2 different racing lines. And up the inside goes Van der Herk. He's got a great amount of speed. And he's going to have the inside line up towards the final turn. But it is Luis Henriquez who wins feature race 1 on the wet tyres. Milan Vukovic takes second on the dries, followed by Van der Herk on the dries. And Matt Malone on the wet. And that was a fastest lap for Vukovic on the last lap of the race, a 1:07.3. What a great end to that race. A fast lap for Harry Fox, 1:07.2, as the race comes to a close. And this first feature race of the day is done with a fantastic race there with the 2 alternate tyre compounds. Let's have a look at the results here as there was an absolute death on our screen in front of us. Luis Henriquez won that race on the wet compounder tyres in the end as Martin goes even faster at the very end of this race on the dries. Milan Vukovic takes second ahead of Philip van der Herk. Fourth was Matt Malone. Jared Swaim won D2. Great for him in the championship alongside Riley Downey, who took second. And the top 3 in the championship of D2 all finished in the top 3 in the race of D2. Harry Fox took 8th, followed by Clayton McBullough. And Anthony Hilton took 10th overall and took 3rd in class. Rest of the field came as so. Matt Gwillam ahead of Matty Cridland. Then it was Anders Hagland, followed by Jeffrey Schnackle, Joel Swain, Michael Wynn, Peter McIntyre, Zach Gould, Richard Edgar, and a lap down was Paul Braunstein. Rest of the field was Ian Lane, Bob Poplar, and Eric Martin, all 2 laps down after issues for each of them. And then Stephen Hurd out of the race after a crash very early on. We head into a very quick warm-up session here, and then we will be back ready for feature race 2. So do not go anywhere. I'm just going to take a quick break so I can grab myself a drink. Hope you do too, because we are going to be back for 20 minutes of feature race 2 action in a moment's time. We are back and we are ready for feature race number 2 with the top 19 drivers reverse. So let's get ourselves showing then what that will look like with the top 19 reverse. So let's get our results here from Constellation up again, because it is going to be Richard Edgar starting on pole position in this one, ahead of Zach Gould. Peter McIntyre will start behind, followed by Michael Wynn. Joel Swain, Jeffrey Schnackle and Anders Hagland. Matty Gridland will be the starting Division 1 driver who will start this race from 8th position ahead of Matt Gwilym. Then it will be Anthony Hilton, followed by McBuller, Fox, Downey, Codd, Swain, Malone. Van der Hoek will be starting from 17th, Vukovic from 18th, and Henriquez from 19th. From 20th will be Paul Braunstein. Then it will be Eric Martin, Ian Lane, Bob Poplett, Stephen Hurd, and Andrew Jordan at the back of the field. Andrew Jordan obviously retiring from that previous race as well. I just didn't show his for some reason. So he went out really early on in that one. Feature race number 2 is about to start then. 20 minutes on the clock. The points, sorry, it's not max points on offer here. The points are not as much as feature race 1 due to the invert, but there are a lot of bonus points on offer, including clean racing and, more importantly, our biggest gainers, because we do have some good gainers in this category. Somewhere we go from drivers starting outside the top 20 and they've somehow come up to fight for the lead of the race. Will we see that again today? I wonder. Let's find out as we grid up here. It is, like I say, going to be Zach Gould who is starting this one on the front row, always finding himself near the front of these ones, but it is Richard Edgar who is going to find himself on pole position for this race. There he is. He appears out at the very front of the grid. 20 minutes on the clock. That's going to be about 17 minutes of racing here. It is all dry tyres from the field, and that is because it is a completely dry circuit today for feature race 2. 98% humidity, but absolutely no rain. Now you can see there we have got a nice bit of rain that has happened, but it is no longer appearing. You can see within the race time, no rain. Nothing to worry about for these drivers. What they are going to have to worry about, though, is how are they going to find their way through. It is a tight track here. It is going to be difficult. We've seen it already. Cars getting in contact with others. It is a tight track out there. 10 seconds left until we will get our starting procedure underway. The entire field is out. It looks like, apart from Andrew Jordan, we may not see him out on the grid for this final race, which is a shame, but we are preparing ourselves here for 20 minutes of racing action. We're green and we are away here for the final race of the day, as our Division 2 drivers are the ones leading us away from the very front of the field, as it is Richard Edgar away from the very front and will be holding on to the lead as we continue through out of turn number 1. Side by side, all the way behind, trying not to get into accidents in these early stages. Trying to keep it clean, but there is contact already. A little bit of a slide there as Joel Swain moves past Michael Wynn. Jeffrey Schnackle now on the outside of Wynn will move up the order as well. Jeffrey Schnackle now up to 5th position overall and 5th position in class. Changes back towards the back end of the field as the D2 drivers are holding up the D1 drivers, and D1 drivers wanting to find their way through, but at the moment it's going to keep it clean. Paul Braunstein has a meatball flag at the very start of this race, will be going down pit lane, and his feature race is done. Contact there, 2 drivers falling down the order, trying to see which drivers have fallen down. It's Matty Cridland and Michael Wynn. Matty Cridland was the highest starting D1 driver. He has fallen down though, as there's more contact behind as the straight continues, and it looks like that may have been Matty Cridland getting into some more issues behind. Out of turn number 1 though, and the first lap of 17 expected is done. Side by side, up in front though for position. That's slightly wide is Riley Downey. Downey on the outside of Harry Fox here. More contact in the background. Another driver off. That was Mark Codd. Side by side they go. Downey looking to try and hold up Box, he's going to want to try and stick the D2 drivers that are in front of him. Look how many are ahead of him, including championship rival Anders Hagland. Luckily for him, Jared Swain down in 12th overall at the moment. Still running side by side though, but he does hold on. Harry Fox now under attack from Matt Gwilym. Matt Gwilym comes in. There's contact between Fox and Gwilym. Somehow they're both facing the right way. They get into the braking zone of turn number 9. Fox on the outside, on the inside side. Gwilym on the inside, and actually that is going to be McBuller now, looking to try and go up the inside. Vukovic just behind as well. Vukovic starting this race, of course, from 18th position. He has moved up to 11th already as we go through turn number 1. Philip van der Her not able to move up quite so well, neither is Enriquez or Matt Malone. Also starting back towards the bottom end of the top 20 after the reverse grid. Zach Gould is the fastest man out on track right now. It drops down to being Anders Hagland, drops down to being Ian Lane, fastest man out on track right now. Swapping position to Jared Swain and Matt Malone. Matt Malone has gone slightly wide at turn number 1. As we get into the braking zone of the turn 4 hairpin. Vukovic still all over the rear of Matt Gwilym, trying to do something with it here. 2 seconds between Edgar and Gould. Gould is doing a great defensive drive right now, trying to hold on to second position. He always starts close to the front in these feature race 2 inverted grids, but he's never able to find his way to keep it towards the end. Vukovic dives up the inside of Matt Gwilym. They're side by side. Will that be an overtake for Vukovic? It will indeed, but can he hold it as we head up towards turn 1? You can see the gap that Edgar has pulled out at the front there. Gwilym has got a slight overlap on Vukovic as they head up towards the final turn. Of course, it is going to be the inside line for Vukovic, and he makes the move through. There's contact ahead though. Riley Downey is wide after that contact. Hopefully there's not too much damage, but he has just lost 4 positions. Fortunately for him, none of them are points paying positions. They are all the D1 cars that has just got past him, but that was an issue there. Anthony Hilton makes his way past Matt Malone, and that is not going to be good as Matt Malone has got no front bumper after that contact. He has it again, no. He's got that magic European bumper. He certainly has some damage, so he's now going to have to contend with side by side with Hilton. Downey is going to want Henriquez here to stay ahead of Swain, Malone, and then Hilton as well, because he's going to want to try and gain as many points as he can over his championship rivals of Swain and Hilton, as they are 11th, 13th and 15th overall. That is 7th, 8th and 9th in class, as that looks like is Joel Swain going for a very different line on the inside. It certainly was, as he's trying to hold on to 5th position here. Zach Gould continues to do a great defensive drive out in 2nd position right now. Side by side behind, it is going to be Gwilym looking up the inside of Fox. Can't quite do it, and as inviting McBuller around his outside has Gwilym, but it looks like he's going to be able to hold it. No, McBuller's just got his nose in here. McBuller and Gwilym now side by side in the battle for 9th position. And McBuller gets it up the inside and moves in to 9th position. Gwilym backs out of it just a little bit, doesn't want to go too hard side by side, and he backs out so that he can get a good run up towards the hairpin, I'm sure, thinking ahead. Vukovic now has moved into 6th position around the outside of Peter McIntyre. Can he hold it on that outside line? Because he is leading the D1 field now, as he was about midfield in the D1 class at the start of this race. He has moved himself to the front. He has been able to get past Peter McIntyre. So has Harry Fox. Vukovic now on the back of Joel Swain for 5th overall as we're about a quarter of the way through this race. There is a fight for 2nd. Jeff Bushneckel got black flagged in Heat Race 1 and Feature Race 1 for jumping the start. Has not been black flagged this race, and is now side by side with Zach Gould as they look for 2nd position. Schneckel gets it up the inside and holds on to 2nd, and as Hagland moves through into 3rd, and Gould is now the driver with Vukovic behind. A great run of defensive laps in the opening 5 laps of this race, but not quite able to do it onto the 6th lap. Off the circuit will over Schneckel. Hagland will be looking to take 2nd. Of course, Hagland won in Heat Race number 1, the Division 2 category. He's looking to get another podium in that D2 class. Vukovic gets past Zach Gould and moves to 4th overall, that Harry Fox will be looking to try and do the same. The gap between Edgar and Schnackle is over 3 seconds. Can you think Vukovic will be able to find that time? It's going to be interesting. Matt Malone gets past Stephen Hurd for 12th overall. In fact, they are side by side as we watch this fight, as Vukovic does get the inside of Haglund for an overall position, not a class position. Matt Malone does get a class position now on Stephen Hurd, but Hurd is back at it up his inside as Hurd does continue to have some connections issues today. Into the hairpin of turn 4. Matt Malone's got the inside line, but we know what the speed is like on the exit. Up to the chicane now, the moto layout is going to give Hurd the inside line. Matt Malone, though, is going to hold it around the outside. It gives him the inside through the actual chicane. He doesn't push all the way to the outside, though, because you still had Stephen Hurd there. They're still side by side. Just going to put Matt Malone on the outside line. Could give him some good speed at the exit. Of course, Malone running with front end damage. He's not going to have the best of straight line speeds as Hurd is through past Malone. Can he hold it, though? He has got Van der Hoyt pushing him. So Hurd could do it on the inside now. And he does. Matt Malone falls behind Hurd. Side by side with Van der Herk here. Can he hold that position for 13th overall? Van der Herk's going to have the inside. And here comes Jared Swain trying to get involved in all of this as well. Side by side between the two teammates ahead. They sort themselves out. And McBuller and McIntyre swap positions for 10th and 11th. Matt Malone is still side by side with drivers here, but this time it's Jared Swain. That damage is just making him fall further and further down the order as we go into the chicane once more. He settles himself single file into 14th overall and 8th in class. Up towards the class leader is Milan Vukovic, 3rd overall, leading the D1 class. He is behind Jeffrey Schnackle in this reverse grid. He has recovered from a 18th place starting position. He's 3rd at the moment, looking for 2nd. Trying to get past Jeffrey Schnackle if he can do it. He's got some good speed there. Pushes much wider on the exit. 2 different racing lines here. Jeffrey Schnackle goes defensive. Milan Vukovic goes on the outside line. Can he get the speed on the exit? No. Schnackle placing it perfectly there as Vukovic goes to 105.4. It's half a second faster and goes ahead. A black flag for D2 Championship leader Anthony Hilton for exceeding the incident limit, I believe. Championship leader for the D2 class is out. Fortunately, in Feature Race 2, where there aren't as many points on offer as Feature Race 1, but that is going to have a significant impact on his fight with Downey and with Jared Swain, because he is going to have to be down pit lane to take that penalty. Jeffrey Schnackle still leading Vukovic here. About 4 tenths between them, though, so Vukovic not able to do anything on the rest of the lap there after settling down at turn 1. Is he able to do something now, though, is going to be the question. As Harry Fox finally makes his way past Anders Hagland. A very late break from Vukovic, gets right onto the back of Schnackle there. No contact. They both keep it clean as they get up towards the hairpin once more. Vukovic surely won't want to make a move through. Of course, these positions, they aren't actually gaining him any additional points, but it is gaining him away from Harry Fox, which he will like, of course, so keeping his championship contenders with some drivers between them. Through into the chicane, this midfield pack goes. A couple of fights going out here. This is Matt Malone once more, still getting into fights, and that was a side-by-side moment with Peter McIntyre. He now loses it behind, and Ian Lane makes his way through as well. We're just over halfway through this race. We're completing our 10th of the expected 19 laps, as here comes Peter McIntyre back on Ian Lane to try and get the inside. He can't quite do it, and he's going to have to settle down. Up ahead, we can see some side-by-side action going. That was for 9th position, and that is a penalty for Bob Poplar. So he will also be down pit lane. Braunstein and Wynn both out of this race. Anthony Hilton is a lap down after his penalty. Will Bob Poplar also go a lap down? Different racing lines here as we look for the fight for 9th overall. This is Jared Swain. He's 5th in class. He's got Clayton McBulloch and Stephen Hurd behind him at the moment. I say behind him, side by side with him as they go through. Swain up the inside. He has got Clayton McBulloch on the outside. It switches across to the inside and McBulloch makes that move. As here comes Stephen Hurd to try and follow through. Got Philip van der Herk behind as well. Vukovic does move into 2nd overall out front. But this is a 2x2 action, and Joel Swain is in the middle of a D1 class battle right now. We've got Clayton McBulloch, van der Herk, and Stephen Hurd all fighting around him at the moment. In fact, Jared Swain is involved in this as well. And Matt Malone's just behind, so could try to take advantage of any issues that are going on ahead of him. Perhaps slightly wide there goes Joel Swain off the circuit, and that allows the D2 drivers through. And Jared Swain, and that's a late move from Jared Swain. He goes extremely deep, and Matt Malone has got up to 11th in all of that, taking advantage of all of the different moves that were going on. He could find himself inside the top 5 in class right now. He is only 7th in class. He could move a couple more positions and take a top 5 if he keeps up at it right now. Edgar's lead has closed, even ahead of Jeffrey Schnackle right now. So Richard Edgar, who has been doing a fantastic job leading this race so far, isn't doing too bad, but he is losing the gap at front that he did have. Zach Gould has fallen down to 8th overall. However, he still does maintain 4th in class, which I believe will be his best result in class this season in any of the races actually, but I definitely think in feature race 2s. Even with the inverts that normally have put him out towards the front, he's just not able to hold it usually. Side by side ahead, side by side behind. Philip van der Herk on the outside of Clayton McBulloch, couldn't quite do it. Stephen Hurd on the inside of Matt Malone could do it and moves up into 11th position. Matt Malone could have Ian Lane fighting him very shortly. Anthony Hilton is out of this race following his black flag earlier in the race. He has decided enough is enough. He's not going to continue here in feature race number 2, which is going to have an impact on the championship standings in the D2 class. This is Edgar and Vukovic fighting out for the overall lead. Edgar's going to want to hold it because that is Jeffrey Schnackle just behind. Edgar drops behind Vukovic here into the final turn, but Jeffrey Schnackle now could be in with an opportunity to try and take the lead in the D2 division right now. His first races of the season in Heat Race 1 and Feature Race 1. He got a black flag for jumping the start. No black flag here for a jump start. Can Jeffrey Schnackle show his pace and win the D2 class with this reverse grid? Up towards the chicane. We're riding in the boots of Richard Edgar. I hope you're comfortable. It's a little bit packed with all the shopping bags that are in here, but it is going to be running side by side now. Edgar and Schnackle for the lead of the D2 class. Schnackle tries the outside line. Can he get the speed on the exit? Edgar held a very tight line, and that is going to give Schnackle an abundance of speed over him up towards the final turn, and he backs out. Edgar backs out and lets Schnackle through and into the lead of the D2 class. Henriquez is just behind Harry Fox here. That's the battle for 2nd in the D1 class with 4 minutes left to go in this race. Van der Herk, Clayton McBulloch fighting it out down in 9th position as well. McBulloch holding it on at the moment, but they are side by side, and Van der Herk has the inside line into the hairpin. Just behind, you can see the train of drivers that Matt Malone is leading right now. He's got Ian Lane and Stephen Hurd behind him in class, and Jared Swain is just behind out of class. Ian Lane looked to the inside there at the chicane, a little bit of contact, couldn't do anything with it. Is Ian Lane going to be under attack here from a different line from Jared Swain? couldn't quite do it, but here comes Stephen Hurd though on the exit, fighting up out the front though. I think that's the 4th in overall. It is 2nd in class as Henriquez looked to go at the inside of Harry Fox, couldn't quite do it as we go to about 4 more laps in this race as we head through turn number 1 for these drivers. I'm trying to keep an eye on all the different battles that are going on, especially those that are within the same class. Jared Swaim, as Eric Martin gets a meatball flag, Jared Swaim has got past Hurd and Lane. Lane's fallen down the order here, and he's now actually giving Matt Malone a bit of breathing space from those in the same class as him behind. Van der Herk and Zach Gould swapping around positions here. Gould down to 10th overall, but still holds 4th in class. Jared Swaim is getting closer though, so could knock Gould down to 5th in class if he's not careful. Eric Martin towed to the pit lane, is down pit lane, and very possibly could be out of the race here, as Vukovic has gained a 2-second lead over Schnackel out of the lead. Edgar's not dropped too far off the back, and I'd say if he fought it a little bit harder, he could have really defended the lead in the D2 class. Fox and Henriquez, though, have closed up towards that that leading fight for the D2 category. They're still fighting away for 2nd in the D1 class, and as you can see, Henriquez is all over the rear of Fox. Of course, Henriquez won feature race 1 on the wet compounder tyres. He's come all the way back from 19th on the grid here. I'm going to see if we can get our biggest gainers to show here. Vukovic, biggest gainer. Henriquez, biggest gainer. Jeffrey Schnackel, biggest gainer here. They're looking to get some bonus points after this race, as Vukovic can just see the gap that he's got out front. And this is side by side. Henriquez up the inside of Harry Fox, and he's got the inside line. Can Fox keep the speed on the outside though? They're side by side as they cross the line. Henriquez gets that inside line. Luis Henriquez, 2nd in class. Here comes Harry Fox again on the outside line, but it's just not going to be enough, even with the additional speed you get running slightly wider there. Matt Malone has fallen to 14th place and he's fighting with Ian Lane. It looks like he's gone off the circuit somewhere, because he's now behind Hurd and Swaim as well. Side by side with Ian Lane. He's got the inside line, and he is going to hold that position, and he does so nice and comfortably. Edgar losing quite a bit of time actually to Jeffrey Schneckel. More than I thought. It's a 2-second gap right now. I thought it was a little bit less than that. As Henriquez is right on the rear end of Edgar. Fox right on the end of Henriquez as that fight continues on. Van der Herk is on the back of Hagland. Hagland's 3rd in the D2 category. Of course, Schnackel and Edgar leading that D2 category at the moment. But as the timer clicks to 0, here is Milan Vukovic. He goes on to the 19th lap of the race. The final lap of the race. The final lap of the week here in the Renault Clio League. Of course, great racing coming next week at Winton as we head to the virtual Australian circuit through turn number 4. As Henriquez trying to get past Edgar. This would be for 3rd overall, but it's not for any class positions. He's going to go around the outside here, is inviting Harry Fox in. You can see why he needed to do it. Matt Gwillem's getting involved in this fight as well now, up towards the hairpin. Just trying to keep Fox behind him as we head up towards the final turn. It is going to be Milan Vukovic once more wins feature race 2 from 18th on the grid. Schnackel wins Division 2 after 2 unfortunate penalties at the start of this race. And then it was Henriquez ahead of Fox, ahead of Edgar. Huge death behind as drivers come across the line and finish up this race. What a fantastic weekend it's been, and feature race 1 with the alternate tyres as Anders Hagland goes absolutely flying there. As, feature race 1 with the changeable conditions, with the fact that it started wet and it just dried and dried and dried until those dry tyres were the ones you wanted to be on. That was a fantastic, fantastic race. But that is going to be feature race 2 over. Let's have a look at our race results here. And Milan Vukovic wins Division 1 and the overall race. Jeffrey Schneckel took 2nd overall and wins the Division 2 race. Following behind was Luis Enriquez and Harry Fox. Richard Edgar 5th overall and 2nd in class, followed by Matt Gwillam, Philip van der Hurt, Clayton McBullett and Stephen Hard. Anders Hagland rounds out the top 10 overall and the podium of the D2 category. Then we, coming up behind, we have P11 was Zach Gould, who held on to 4th in class and actually did a good job of holding a decent result in class by the end of it. We then had Matt Malone, followed by Jared Swaim and Ian Lane. Matt Malone getting past that gaggle of cars by the end of it after some issues on the last lap. Riley Downey took 15th overall ahead of Joel Swain. Then it was Matty Quidlan, Peter McIntyre and Mark Codd. Bob Poplar finished lap down after getting the penalty for exceeding the instant count. Eric Martin retired out of the race after getting a meatball flag. Anthony Hilton also got a black flag and abandoned the race. Michael Wynn and Paul Braunstein both out of the race after meatball flags. And Andrew Jordan did not start the last race of the day. What a fantastic event it has been here at Tsukuba. What a brilliant circuit around Shimotsuma here in Japan. One of my favourite countries and a host of great racing tracks. Next week though, we will not be in Japan. We will still be in this side of the world. We head across to the Australian circuit of Winton as we go on to the 6th round of the championship next week on August 30th. We then head across to the European portion and the back end of the championship as we head into September. To catch up on all of the previous races, if you have missed them, head over to the Beehive Bill Broadcasting YouTube channel or check out our brand new website, www.beehivebillbroadcasting.com. And you can check out the Renault Clio League, all of the extended highlights of previous races of the Renault Clio League, plus any other leagues that we are doing as well. With that being said, if you would like to hire Beehive Bill Broadcasting to bring professional and passionate broadcasts to your screens, then make sure you head over to our website and inquire today. But until next week and until Winton, I hope you all have a fantastic week and I will see you next time. So, once again, I will end and I'll say goodbye. Goodbye.